Good morning to everyone. Lee and I are back today. We do not have a guest with us, which is perfectly okay with us. We love having guests, but equally, Lee and I enjoy having these conversations as well. So it's just going to be the two of us this morning. And we decided that there was something that it feels like it's been kind of a underlying current of a theme lately, right?
Yeah.
And it hit me this morning. We had a couple of topics that we could have talked about, but this one in particular felt completely right today for us to talk about, considering what we're all going through as entrepreneurs. So, with that being said, what we wanted to talk about is growing your confidence as an entrepreneur. But as I was thinking about this, Lee, this morning, growing your confidence as an entrepreneur is simultaneous with, or whatever, what would the word be? Not simultaneous.
Anonymous.
Yeah, or in parallel or complementary, any of those words, because you'll understand why I'm having problems with that. With the actual act of personal change. So
Okay.
it's a
Right.
parallel. They work together.
Go
Entrepreneurialism.
hand in hand.
Yeah. So that's why I thought we could talk about it a little bit more this morning because it actually goes back to my live on Wednesday when I talked about the fact that the four pillars and what that means, and if anybody hasn't watched it, go back and watch it. Because a lot of people enter into entrepreneurialism. We're all guilty. I went through this as well. Lee, you probably did to a certain degree as well. I think a little less than what I did, but you have no clue the impact that being an entrepreneur will have on personal growth.
Yes.
It's not possible to realize how big that piece is going to be. Would you agree with me on that?
Oh, I would 100% agree.
Was it
100.
already more than you anticipated?
Yes. I mean, literally you cannot forego self improvement. Um, any of that you can't as an entrepreneur. It's a necessity.
Yes. But would you say it's more than you thought? Meaning, like, starting out as an entrepreneur, you're like, let's do this. I know you were really excited a year ago when we kind of started this journey for you. But did you anticipate the level of change, stretching, growing outside your comfort zone, whatever you want to call it, that would be required? Okay.
No,
That's
I didn't.
I'm not asking you to call you out. I'm asking because
No,
it's
I know.
making me feel better because I think everybody goes through it. And good morning to anybody that's watching. But I wanted to address this because I feel like we all need this. It's almost like a checkup with the doctor. We all go through it. Every single one of us as entrepreneurs, we have to go through it, unfortunately. And again, a lot of the things and the changes that we go through are a rite of passage. It's part I've even called like the hazing process of being an entrepreneur that we put ourselves through. And it's not meant to be in negative connotation whatsoever. I mean it in the fact that we're starting out, we're happy, we're so excited, and then reality hits in. And when that reality dips in, that's when the personal growth becomes 10 times more important. And I think it's really difficult to accept the fact that something like our confidence kind of gets knocked around a bit. It
Mhm.
can, but if you anticipate it and you're aware of it, well, that's how we can kind of shorten that little process and bring us back full circle. So I actually read a really cool article, and I know you did too. So we'll discuss both of them, but it was really cool. It was a list of what confidence is not and what confidence can be for us.
Okay.
And I thought it was really cool that it stated, and I'm paraphrasing this, that it doesn't mean that we won't fail or that we won't have to adjust along the way. It doesn't mean that we will be free of fear. And it doesn't mean that we'll ever have a perfect outcome, that we are allowed to stay in our comfort zone, was what I added. And that we will be free of self doubt or imposter syndrome along the way. So, confidence does not mean that. Confidence isn't the polar opposite of that, meaning that we're free and clear, we're going to be confident, charge out there, and we're never going to feel the emotions that go with it. That's what it doesn't mean. But what it stated was, what does it mean? Well, and again, I'm paraphrasing, these are my version versus what the article said. It said about that we have to get up every day. And I said, and hit the restart every single day. The other thing it said, and this was my favorite one, was that we have to do the things that we said we were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really interesting. And then the third one was we need to embrace failure, get back up and do it again. That's what confidence really is. And so then I wrote down 5 things I would suggest to anybody that's a new entrepreneur going through this phase. But if you want, what was the article about that you really enjoyed? What did it say?
It was saying pretty much the same, taking risks and then
Mm-hmm.
learning from our failures. It doesn't mean, of course, being reckless, but it does mean pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone.
Yes.
And it talks about how failure is part of the process. It's part of being an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
But every time you fail, you get one step closer to that confidence you need, one step closer to that goal you're trying to achieve. So, and again, what do we talk? We were talking about this the other day, but like you said, it's kind of starting to become a undercurrent. Failure, learning from your failures, getting back up and continuing. So yeah, so it didn't list like any particular things, but I know that I think it was when we were talking to Tia, when we were talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna happen. It just depends on how we deal with it. But one thing the article said that I thought was really important is surrounding yourself with supportive people.
Yes.
Getting involved in entrepreneur groups or communities.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is where you find your strength. There is where you find your motivation.
Yes.
But you can learn from the groups that you're involved with, the people that you're involved with. You can learn from their experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and you can learn a ton of things that will give you confidence to continue to go.
I completely agree with that, but I'd even take that a step further for the fact, again, our, I always say this very delicately, our families love us, our friends love us. There's no doubt about that. That's why we choose to stay around them and keep them in our circle because of the wanting of a healthy relationship, right? Like we want to be in a healthy environment with the people that love us. That's not even about this conversation. What I'm talking about is do they have the expertise in business, in your industry, as an expert at all? No, they never do. And that's why having that support team, and that's actually fifth on my list of things that I would suggest for people to do too. So I'm glad you and I both said that. It's as an entrepreneur, you speak a different language. And having that support team there allows you to bounce ideas off of people. I've said this many times that no matter where you go, which group you join, who you talk to, they are not you. Plain and simple, they are not you. They will never have the same idea as you. So it's going to be fine. I have over 20 years, I've never had somebody say, I'm doing exactly what you do, exactly the same way, and I have the same vision, and I have the same why, and same manifesto. No, hasn't happened yet. And you know what? If anybody ever wants to steal like our business plan, go for it. Knock yourself out. I encourage it. That's my point. Because I want more people to think outside the box and grow their own companies and be entrepreneurs, especially single moms. That's my why. So why would I discourage that? That wouldn't even be fair inside of the terms of the universe or the laws of the universe. I'm not going to do that. And that's the point is it doesn't matter if 5 people all started out doing the same thing. They're all going to do it a different way. And a perfect example of that is that we have several people within our collective team that all of us went to school together. Not one of us have an identical company. We all went through the same exact programs, same classes, same lectures, whatever it may be. All of us got the exact same. So how is it that we all ended up with different takes on that and then a different plan, a business plan? That's my point. So do I run any risk talking to any of them about our business? No. That's why that's one of the misconceptions when you become an entrepreneur, that you're so scared other people are either doing it already or somebody else will take it and run with it. And
Mhm.
you don't have to, plain and simple. You really don't have to. That is, to me, a very big misconception. It, rooted in negativity and very natural to feel, but doesn't mean it needs to keep a hold on you. You just need to toss that out.
Yeah.
So I agree. And again, because entrepreneurs, we speak a little bit of a different language, or always the kind of the, I always say for years, instead of, a lot of people say I'm unemployable. I do like that one because it's true. But the one I like even better is that I am a corporate rebel. I've been saying that for 20 years. I'm a corporate rebel and they won't take me. They, there's no way. I'm not meant for corporate America. And I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly okay. And to that point, like, to build your confidence as an entrepreneur, I don't know why, but this comes to mind, that my middle son, Elias, asked one time, standing in our kitchen, I'll never forget this conversation. It was as I was retiring from my first company. He said, "Why did you never quit ever, Mom? Why is it that I never saw you quit in all 15 years?" And I laughed and, "Oh, thank you so much. Thank you." Um, I laughed and I said, "Because I didn't build in an exit sign." And in that moment, I visualized, this sounds silly, but I've shared this with Nesta, my business partner and life partner. But I think, I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, Lee, but at that moment, when I said that to him, I imagined a fun house with mirrors. And when you're in one of those that there is no exit sign, they don't show you the way through, you figure it out.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I had that silly visual in my head about that's what it takes to be an entrepreneur in ways. Things are distorted. What you think is going to happen doesn't. It may turn out different. You may have to go a different path. You may have to do a different, get through a different way. And it was so perfect of a visual in my head at that moment of why I never quit, because there was no exit sign. I didn't allow an exit sign from day one. And I will tell you, I had my doubts. And that's, again, going back to our confidence. I had my doubts, but in the moment of doubt, I always thought about it this way: well, am I going to go out and get a job and make the same income I do in the hours I work if I quit?
Exactly.
No. And so I always have done this silly thing in my head. I'm like, what you going to do? Quit? No. And I will give myself that like 2 seconds when I ask the question of myself. And the answer is always readily no. I mean, my gut reaction is no. So I've always gone back to that. I know it sounds super silly, but again, after years of self motivation as an entrepreneur, you do have to find those things. And that works for me. So my list, I'll tell you this real quick, and then if there's anything you want to add, was one, have a daily task list. This is something that has become imperative for me. And I know we say make a list, make a list. Everybody says make a list. I mean it as in that daily task list doesn't just get rewritten every day. It doesn't just transfer over. In fact, what I've been doing lately, because Lee and I meet every morning, that task list stays the same and I keep just checking things off, because then I'm not adding to it. Now, what do you do when you have new things? Great question, to it, because that's going to come up. I guarantee it. You have to think about and discern, does it take priority over what's already there? And can it be put on a list for maybe 2 to 3 days from that point? But write it down. Don't get rid of it. Or does it need to go on your do not do list? This is something that is very important to me. That I have a do list and a do not do list. It's a dump list. And that list gets all the amazing, crazy, off the wall 2 a.m. ideas, shower thoughts, things like that go on there. You never know when it's actually going to be a good idea. You never know when you could actually add it to what you're working on. So don't get rid of it, but do not just stick it on your do list, your daily to do list. The other thing that I had on here was, again, back to what the article said, make your words count. If you say it, do it. That's one that we all need to work on. I mean, every single one of us.
Yeah.
But again, that's working with, when you want to accomplish a very big goal, say, for example, 2024 just started. I have a couple of really big goals that are not quite in alignment with growing my company, but it would be for me growing my visibility, my income, all of those things, like a book, things like that. whatever it may be, put it out there and say you're going to do it, because then you are accountable to yourself. So I think that's a double-edged sword, that it can't be that we don't want to say things out loud because then we're accountable. Think it through, make yourself accountable by saying, I am going to do this year. I am going to do this the following year. And not just, again, because it's just like your to-do list. You can keep transferring things over because you said it, but you're not really getting to it. That is a way that you prove to yourself your value and that you are capable. That is why our word is so important to keep with ourselves. The next one I had written down was that remember that no is a complete sentence. This is a hard one. I learned this a couple of years ago, and I started trying to practice it, because that's always a difficult one. You know, we hear let your yes be yes and no be no. Lee, how long have we heard that one? We've heard it, but I've never, until recently, a couple of years ago, ever heard somebody say no as a complete sentence.
Yeah,
And
I don't think I've ever heard that either.
yeah,
Actually.
and that was a great lesson for me, because I was the one that would always go, no, I can't, because it's okay just to say, no, I'm not available, or no, this just doesn't work in my time frame, or this isn't in alignment with me, and I'm not going to be moving forward. All of those things are okay to say, but no needs to be a
Yeah.
complete sentence. And again, that
Mhm.
really helps our confidence. The next one I had on there is to work on the 4 pillars. So again, if you go back and watch my live from Wednesday, I talked about our 4 pillars that we teach for Grit and King, and the fact that we need the balance between all four, not just industry expert, the industry you choose, but you have to have business expert, nowadays software, automation, all of those things you have to be proficient in, because it helps you move your business forward faster and also grows your confidence. If you're balanced and you have that knowledge in all 4 categories, Lee, how much more confident would you be versus saying, well, and I'm not picking on you, I'm just using you as my target
Right.
practice. You are my example today.
Exactly.
Nothing personal, but it would be like you saying, I want to be a coach within public speaking because it is what I'm good at, but then never working on your personal growth, never working on understanding what software you need to grow the company, and actually sitting down and doing a business plan, because very quickly you're no longer an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, and you are working for the business,
Yes.
plain and simple. And then my last one was what you had said about to find your support team and why, and we covered that. So those were my 5 suggestions that I think are very important in order to keep growing your confidence. There's a ton more, but I feel like that's a very good start list.
I'd like to add one,
Go
and
for it.
it's
You can
the
add anything you want.
article that I had read talked about, and we've talked about this before too, is celebrating your successes or your wins, no matter how small they might be.
Yes,
Um, we tend to be our biggest cheerleader, and so that is important to do when we have or achieve small wins.
yes,
It gives that self confidence a boost. It keeps us on the straight and narrow. It keeps us moving forward because when you are happy about an achievement, you want to get to that next achievement and
absolutely.
celebrate that, be happy with that. So,
Yes,
um, have being stopping and celebrating your wins, no matter how small,
yes.
is huge to keep to build that self confidence and to keep you going.
And balance.
Yes,
I'll say that
that
one too. That is the one I'm currently working in, because, there's a lot. Notice when I started celebrating me, it was yes, love, love, love that comment. That is a wonderful comment.
yeah.
Completely agree. And it goes right in line with what I was about to say, that if we don't stop and celebrate what we've accomplished, you cannot properly process it either.
That's a
I've
good
had
point.
I've had a couple of good little tiny little quiet celebration moments this week of things that were done for me and recognition, and I keep thinking about them. I haven't stopped and really celebrated it, but I need to process it. before I can celebrate it. So I think there's a part of that too. But yes, absolutely. Stopping and celebrating everyone else too and being their support means when you have wins, you can go to them and say, guess what I did? That is a part of it too. Again, back to finding your support team and then going to them and saying, I got this done this week or I did that. One of the things that we have done for a very long time inside of our accountability group is coming with 3 wins and then a lesson as well. What have we learned from the week? And sometimes having 3 full wins for a week sounds like a lot, but it always works out because once you keep track of that and when you sit down and actually think about it, does it necessarily have to be 3 wins that meaning like I hit this goal in my business or I did this in my business? No, it could be the personal growth. Again, we have 4 pillars to choose from. So I think that's very important for us to remember. And again, that balancing act, like you were talking about, and celebrating act, it also helps us recognize that we need to be others' supports and to the support to others, and then they are the support to us as well. So I think again, all of it comes full circle. Like I mean, Lee, I can tell you personally, if I hadn't had you along in this last year, it would have been a lot different for me. And let me explain why. You and I have been friends for already 28 years. You were there for me before in my entrepreneurial journey. You have been for years. But it feels very different now having you be a part of the Grit and King team, you building your own. It's just different because you understand on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
And our conversations have adjusted and changed, and your education has changed. All of it, all of it. So,
Yep.
how much different is our conversations now versus even a couple of years ago, just as friends?
They are, I mean, I don't want to say this in the context that they weren't prior to, but they just seem to be more full, our conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we focus on different things as we're having a conversation. So, in the past it was just how we were doing, life and stuff like that. Well, now not only is it that, but it's also business. And you
Yes.
give me ideas or you shoot off ideas that you've had. So it's a learning conversation as well.
Yes.
We both get education through our conversations.
Well, and a step further, we also get a chance to celebrate each other
Yes.
in
Yeah.
our wins. And also, you are great at reminding me to stop and actually appreciate something that has happened. You did it for me a couple days ago, and I appreciate it because I really did not stop and recognize what had happened in the way that I wanted to. So it's all of the above really helps. That's for
Mhm.
sure. Well, I think this has been a wonderful conversation. I hope this helps anybody that gets a chance to either watch it live or in the replay, just because of the fact that these are definitely things that I can tell you, I've had to work through a lot of these, and I think a lot of the problem is that we when we start out, it's a learning curve again, and so these are all things that we have to learn and go through.
Exactly.
Yes. So, is there anything you want to add?
No, this is a very nice conversation.
Wonderful. Well, we will be back next week. Lee will be back live on Monday. We have a new podcast episode coming out on Tuesday. I'm here Wednesday live. And then we get a little tiny little break. Thursday, it's a little quieter. And then Friday, we're back again for another live roundtable. As we always remind everybody, if you're an entrepreneur in this group and you want to jump in and have one of these conversations with us, you're more than welcome to join us. And in fact, we encourage it, and especially because if it scares you a little bit, it's a
Hmm.
great way for you to get comfortable with the
Don't be
idea of
scared.
being on a podcast or being live in front of people because we have to get out of our comfort zone in all of those areas. I will tell you for sure, 6 months ago, Lee would not have jumped on and gone live by herself. And now she's like, I got it. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm very proud of you. So,
Hey,
this is a great, safe space to test that out for any entrepreneur, female entrepreneur. So, if you want to join us, you are always more than welcome. And then, like I said, we will be back next week with new subjects, new topics, and new podcasts. And is there anything I'm forgetting, Lee?
Nope.
All right. Well, everybody have a wonderful day. Thank you for your comments. Anybody that got to watch it live, and it will be available immediately for a replay inside of the group. So if you want to watch it in its entirety, you can as well. So have a wonderful day, and we will see you next
Thank
week.
you. All right. Bye.